Pinyan, written by Orphic Osam. Black is for death, evil, and mystery. Akutagawa screamed all of the above when you first saw him. You refused to believe he was who you were meant to spend your entire life with. As a civilian who very much cared for lives, a member of the mafia wasn't ideal as a soulmate. When he first saw you, he greeted you with a sneer and a furrow of his non-existent eyebrows. Tsk, he could at least be nice to me. You ignored the bubbling irritation in you and smiled kindly towards him. He was oblivious of the curses you uttered in your mind for the mess of a hair color he had you both wear. Pure black all over for the tips, which were dipped in white in what looked like a shit recreation of yin and yang. He didn't seem to realize at first that you were his soulmate. Some shit dyed job you've got, he muttered, walking past you. You grabbed onto his arm in a tight grip. With gritted teeth and a steely glare, you tried to appear as calm as possible. You mean, what you got, dear soulmate? You let go of him and your lips curled back into a poison-filled smile. It took him a while and you could practically see the gears turning in his head. Truth be told, you weren't so sure if he really was your other half, but the tingles that shot up your spine when you touched him confirmed it. You weren't a stranger to Akutagawa's infamous identity ever since he bombed the police station nearby. When you saw his hair color and yours, you had an inkling. Years of never seeing anyone with your hair color and now realizing it was some murderer who had some weird sense of a good hair color. You didn't want to be associated with him at all. But seeing as being away from your soulmate after meeting them impacts their health, and Akutagawa looking like death, you had no choice but to stick around. It started with a compromise. He'd meet you after work for a while to ease himself and then you'd go your separate ways, seeing each other enough to stay healthy. But around the fourth time, you saw him cough violently. You were physically fine, though it wasn't the same for him. Getting beat up by his superior every day and suffering from a sickness affecting his lungs didn't make things easier for him. You didn't like him one bit. But you also didn't want him to die. You started seeing him more often. For longer periods of time, it was always quiet with you two. The library was the most common spot. It required silence, and you could read books to pass the time. What kind of book is that? The first thing he said after your introduction had you cursing at him. Shut the fuck up, you Count Dracula-looking ass. His eyes widened, mouth parting in shock. He clearly didn't expect you to snap back at him. You huffed angrily and refused to even look at him for the rest of your meeting. The next day was spent at the park. You wanted to spend all day at home, but you'd rather not have Akutagawa know where you live. He met you a little later than usual, clad in casual clothes in complete contrast to the emo Victorian era style he had. You okay? You asked with a snort. Catch a fever? He sighed and nodded, eyes fluttering shut as he leaned against the trunk of the tree you were sitting under. Something of the sort. Your eyebrows trumped in surprise. You were merely joking. You wriggled aside, patting the space beside you for him to sit down. Albeit hesitant, he looked at you weirdly before sitting. Do you, wanna hold my hand? The silence that came after was incredibly awkward. It made you want to crawl in a hole and die right then and there. To make you feel better, he added after a long pause. He looked away before slipping his hand into yours on your lap, a dark blush painting the tips of his ears and the apple of your cheeks. Your body was stiff against his own. Akutagawa let out a shaky sigh, squirming around to release the tension in his shoulders and to get comfortable with the bark pressing to his back. I should have brought that back, damn it, you muttered, low enough so he wouldn't hear. Or so you thought. YN? He looked at him curiously. That was the first time he's ever said your name. And you'd be lying if you said it didn't give you butterflies in your stomach. He fidgeted in place before pushing the paper bag he carried with him towards you. Huh? You tried your best to pry it open with one hand and flush a dark red at the sight of the object inside, his own cheeks following suit. It's the sequel to the book you were reading. The library didn't have it, so I... He trailed off, coughing awkwardly. Oh, yeah. You put the bag aside, your hand feeling sweaty in his. Was he trying to make up for yesterday? Thank you, you muttered. You felt his shoulders drop in relief beside you. The silence lasted for a little longer as you worked up the courage to talk to him. It started with asking about his day, then how he got sick, and finally, offering to take care of him for the next few days. It was uncomfortable, to say the least. But as soon as he cracked a smile to stumble in your worries slipped away. He was definitely not the type to smile, and that's what made it so special, like it was a secret only you two could know. When the sun began to set, his grin dipped to a frown and his eyes glazed over with an emotion you couldn't decipher. Can we try things out? His voice was hushed to a whisper, tone so low you could have sworn you misheard him, but his pursed lips and sullen look. Maybe he isn't so bad after all. Maybe his shit representation of yin and yang wasn't so far off. For you were his yang, the pure in the world with a tiny bit of bad with your heart beating faster for a notorious criminal, and for he was your yin, the murderous Victorian vampire with the hopes of being a worthy soulmate in your eyes. Hi? It's my first ever upload, obviously, and thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story as much as I enjoyed it because it's really adorable. Thank you for listening again and see you next time.